Guys, it's Tommy here from Saleslucky.com, and today we're going to be going over some book reviews for the month of June. Okay, um, you know, gonna share with you guys a couple books here today. The first one is an ebook that I read on Kindle. It's actually called "Poke the Box" by Seth Godin, and I've shared a couple of Seth's books, and love his material. His content is always great. Very unique thinker. The concept for this book is basically um, him kind of egging you on almost to, not almost, but he does, to poke the box, basically to try more, to take more attempts, to go out and try to make something happen, right? To go out and step out and step up the bat. And so that's a very short read. You could probably knock it out in about an hour, so highly recommend that. The next book I've got here is Shut Up and Listen by Tillman Fertitta. This guy is the founder and owner of Landry's, and that chain of restaurants. He's a billionaire, owns the Houston Rockets, and what's really interesting about him in this book, it's also a short read, very, very to the point and like effective. And what he shares about in this book was, so years ago he took his business Landry's public, and after the 2008 crisis, what he did, or before the crisis happened, he saved up a lot of cash, a war chest of cash, and after the crisis hit, when stocks dropped and everything dipped to low levels, he bought back his own company, Landry. So it went public. The stock market crashed, and he took his cash reserves and bought back his company. So at the end of the crisis, because of the crisis, he actually was able to buy back full ownership of his company, and take back full ownership after it went public. So obviously a huge power play in terms of where he is at today, and it's something to understand, right? To understand when to take advantage of market dips, especially in recession times, and certainly we've been in that time, here now, So, want to share that book here. The next book is called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. And this is a great book, and a friend recommended it to me. I actually think Lynn lives here in San Francisco, but with this book, Lynn really talks about how, with the relationship of money, for people, whether people have money or don't have money. This is an incredibly interesting book. It talks about the relationship money, and it also talks about how people, regardless of how much money they have, can be quote unquote burdened by the wealth, or could be using it in more uplifting and higher purposes. At the end of the day, what this book is saying, one of the takeaways is to really be conscious and intentful of how you use your money, and be intentional about how you use your money, and I've talked about this concept on my blog before. We're talking about the concept of tithing, which is giving to charity, and putting it into ways where we can serve the greater good of the world in a better way. And I absolutely believe that, and I 100% support that, and recommend everybody who kind of watches this to do that as well. I'm currently helping raise money for a school in Laos right now. It's cost about $25,000 to build a classroom, and me and a buddy of mine are in the process of raising money to do that. And so I'll have the link to that fundraiser here, which you can donate to, and please do. If you do, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, we'll jump into the next book here. Is another book that I've got on Kindle. So I don't have a physical book, but it's Extreme Ownership by Jocko and Leif Babin. Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. So these guys are I believe, might be wrong, but I believe Navy, Marines, ex-Marines or Navies. But anyways, they take the concepts of the military, of when they led in the military, into the business world, and now what they do is they coach businesses and executives on how to be better leaders. and it's incredibly important. I mean, the title explains it, and taking extreme ownership, taking ownership for everything that happens in our domain, especially if you might be considered a leader of some sort, to take ownership of everything in that domain. So with if you're a business owner, it means taking ownership of your employees and whatnot. But whether even if you're if you're a salesperson, if you're a parent, it's just the concept of taking ownership for everything within our lives, right? Um, and the next book is called Tell to Win by Peter Guber. Um, not much to cover here, but this is a really, really great book. Peter Guber is an absolute genius. He's the CEO of Mandalay Entertainment. His films have grossed over 3 billion worldwide. He's received over 50 Academy Award nominations. He also co-owns the NBA State Warriors, MLB's LA Dodgers, Major League Soccer's Los Angeles FC, and also part owner of the largest esports team, Team Liquid. So, I mean, obviously, very, very successful person, and he talks about how important it is to be able to tell stories to win, okay? And in sales, this is incredibly important because when something happens when we tell a story, I'll give you an example. So when I was in when I was a kid, I was born in China, but when I was 6 years old, my family immigrated to Canada, and that's when I learned English and all that. And because I was 6 years old, I was able to adapt really quick to my environment, much faster than my parents did. And that allowed me to learn English at a much faster rate. So, um, my point here is that when the power of stories is that when we tell stories about ourselves, it's inevitable for our audience to think about that story in their own lives. Okay, so and typically, story will have like kind of like a plot and a climax and conflict and whatnot. So I didn't kind of go into like a whole story arc there, but just know that when we do tell stories, the listener automatically is going to think about their own lives in relation to that story. They're going to project their own lives into that. Okay, their own version of that. I hope that makes sense. So whenever we tell a story, what that's doing is it's illustrating that for them, and that they're imagining that for themselves, what that's like in their own lives. All right. So anyways, hope that made sense. The next book here I've got is The Leader's Greatest Return by John Maxwell. Another book on leadership, and it's just a good overall book on leadership. I'm still going through that one, but it is something book that I recommend. So if you're looking to improve your leadership skills as well, which is definitely translatable in sales, would recommend that book as well. And then the last book is Tribes by Seth Godin. So here, and this is a great book as well. Obviously mentioned one of his books at the top of this list today. So this is his book on leadership and leading tribes and communities, and also a book I'm still kind of halfway through, but I wanted to share with you. And I think especially at a time like now where there's so much uncertainty, right? Not only in our communities, but in maybe in our own families, and just everywhere that you kind of look, right? And it's important to take care of ourselves in the sense to get our own mind right, get our own body right, and our own mindset right, so that we could be a better leader in our own communities, in our own families, in our own, across our friends and colleagues. So it really matters. Tribes. Will we step up? Because if not us, then who? Right? So hope you guys got value out of this. Those are the book reviews for June 2020. It's great books. I'm curious on what you guys are reading as well. Post them in the comments below, and we'll see you guys soon.